At the KSMO studios, time for us to sit down with our friends from Intercounty Electric as it's Intercounty Tuesday. It's also a little snowy out there, and we have Heather with us this morning. Well, any issues coming in?
No, none at all.
None at all. You hear that? Everybody out there, you hear that? None at all. You're the official road condition report girl.
Oh, yeah. No trouble at all. Road was fine. I did, however, think that last month when I was here, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I feel like I put in a request for nice weather.
You did. It's coming.
And
That got put on the back burner.
okay,
You know, the Chiefs lost. Everybody's down. Snow falls.
so it might as well snow. That's what you're saying.
Nobody's going anywhere. Everybody's still
Okay.
depressed.
I heard a lot of people skipped work yesterday because of it.
They tried to drown their sorrows. It didn't work.
I guess.
The game is still didn't come out the way people wanted it to. Anyway, but nonetheless, thank you for making
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
I was a little bit concerned last night when they kept talking about being icy.
I know,
you
I saw that too.
And I thought, well, if and you have my number, so I figured if you couldn't make it, you'd have called and let me know.
Yeah.
But anyway, nonetheless,
Yeah. Nope, it
but
was
here
good.
you are.
I'm here.
And we are going to talk about a number of different things today. Some neat things, some not so neat things.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, but we'll talk about them anyhow. But obviously, probably the crux of what we have always talked about this time of year is the youth essay contest.
Right.
Kids haven't been at school a lot in January. Did you get a chance to make your presentation here in Salem?
Yes, we have. We did have a lot of snow days, so it kind of pushed everything back
Yeah.
a little bit. But we spoke to the juniors a couple Fridays ago here at Salem, and the counseling office is coordinating those efforts, and they had an assembly. We went to the cafeteria, and I think you've got 125-ish, if I'm remembering my numbers right.
That's for the whole school.
135?
Oh, in the class?
For the juniors.
Oh, junior class? That's probably
Does that
close.
sound about right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty close.
Yeah. So we had them all in the cafeteria and got to talk to them, and good group. A cafeteria can get kind of noisy, but they did a good job of listening and had some questions even. That's always a good
Well,
sign.
that is good.
Yeah. Yep. So I hope we have good participation. It seemed like we had several interested students, so crossing my fingers. We had a couple years ago, Salem, we just couldn't get anybody to participate.
Yeah,
So
it's horrible.
if you're listening, well, if you might be a junior if you're listening, if you guys are out of school. But if you know a junior, if you've got a kid or a grandkid or neighbor or just
Son or daughter,
right,
relative.
if you know a high school junior, please encourage them to participate in Intercounty's essay contest. We realize going into the schools, you're asking the kids to write an extra paper that's not required. I'll tell you this, they have 100 other things they'd rather do than write a paper for Intercounty.
Do they have 100 other things rather than going to D.C.?
There you go. That's the catch there. But we try to tell the kids 250 words because that's the minimum. It's 250 to 500 words. That's not a lot of words.
Like in 15 minutes, really.
I mean, really, they could.
Because it's not anything you have to research. It's not anything you have to go dig up information on. It's not anything you have to sit there and dwell on and become a philosopher over. You don't have to be Socrates or Plato.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that. All it is a simple, easy question, which is...
We're asking them to write about something that they'd love to learn
It's
or
tough.
get better at. Yeah.
Is that?
Yeah. And we tell them,
It's really all opinionated.
It is.
What you feel.
It is. And we tell them this is not a research paper. You're not going to spend weeks doing research and citing sources. And a lot of times we get asked, what format? Do you want this in MLA or APA? And we're like,
We don't care.
we don't care. It does. Like, you're not going to have sources because it's an opinion
That's right.
essay. This is so much easier than what you're having assigned to you in class. So,
It's like a grade school book report.
yeah.
Remember those? You read a book and you wrote you wrote a paragraph on what you read.
Yeah, and this is easier because you don't have to read the book first. Like this
The book's
is-
already in your
It's
head.
in your head, yeah. So we've had some kids. We had one tell us they want to get better at video games because they want to do esports and they want to earn scholarships for that. And there's a paper right there. We've had ideas about maybe learning to play an instrument or a foreign language or getting better at a sport that they already play.
Wow.
I mean, figuring out what they're going to write about, narrowing it down is probably going to be just as time consuming as once they decide, oh, yeah, I'm going to write about this.
Once they sit down and decide they want to write it, whether they do it on their Chromebook or write it out longhand or however they want to do it, the submissions do need to be in before the end of the month.
Right. And each
And we're
school,
really closing in on that
we
kind of
are.
quickly because
I know.
February is a short month.
It's a short month, and it's the 11th already. But the students, hopefully, they've had plenty of time. And we tell them, look, the top 3 are going to be due back to us by the last day of February. That falls on a Friday this year. And so the counseling center will have a due date prior
Which is probably
to that.
next Friday, 21st.
Yeah, it may be. Some of the schools are making their deadline the Monday that week.
Okay.
So they're giving them the
Give 'em
weekend. And then they're making the due date Monday. That way they have the week to get those blind judged and matched back up and narrowed down. But yeah, the amount of effort that's required for this is just so minimal. And we actually, our teacher, our contact in Houston, she was talking to the class after we get done with our presentation. She said, okay, guys, here's the deal. I know you think in numbers. You think of things in the term of money. And she said, what's minimum wage? If this whole thing, coming up with the idea, writing the paper, proofing it, and getting it submitted takes you an hour. To win a $3,000 DC trip, that's a pretty good return on investment.
I don't know how you're going to get it for $3,000. That was just a TC. I don't know where you're going to get that.
That number's from a few years ago, so
It's more like 5.
it's
Yeah.
it's a huge opportunity. And if you're not familiar with what we're talking about, the essay contest, they can win, these high school juniors, they can win a free trip to DC or to Jeff City.
Right. And both are incredible,
They are.
incredible opportunities.
Yeah. And we stress to the kids that if you make top 3, please be excited about Jeff City if that's the trip you end up going with. And because we realize, like, the way this works, their essays get judged at the school. They're narrowed down to the top 3. And they know if they make top 3, they're winning a trip because we give 1 to DC and 2 to Jeff City. At that point, we give them a study guide. And they come to the intercounty office in Licking on last Saturday in March. And then we ask them 5 or 6 questions off that study guide. And how well they do that in that portion then determines which trip they win. And we see every year, I mean, these kids are pumped. The ones that write the essay, they make it to the top 3, they want to win DC. And they
Well,
show
who
up.
wouldn't, right?
Yeah, that's the big prize. So they show up that day and they're awarded the Jeff City trip and they're a little deflated, you know?
Yeah, but that's to be expected.
Right.
I mean, but like I said, it's still an incredible trip.
Yeah, and that's what we tell them. Nobody has ever come back from Jeff City and said, that was a waste of my time. We have never heard that. And I think a lot of times, and we've been trying to stress this to the classes, especially this year, I think a lot of times they hear Jeff City and they think, well, I've been to Jeff City before. Or in middle school, we toured
Went
the
to the
state
Capitol,
capitol.
yeah,
Like I've already seen it. I've done it. And there's so much more to that trip. There is an afternoon at the Capitol. They get to go out on the House floor, which I guarantee you they didn't do in middle school
When they did in
when
middle
they
school.
went.
And if they did, they didn't understand it.
No, but there is an afternoon there, but that's not the whole trip. You know, they spend an entire day in St. Louis doing stuff like the City Museum and the Arch, and they take them to Dave and Buster's and let them just play video
have
games
some
and
fun,
eat. And yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I just got back from D.C. I was there last week.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and so so much has changed since the last time I've been there, which has probably been 14 years. But still quite a long time. But so much has changed. And I turned around and we made an appointment with our congressman to get a tour of the White House, and of course, and also the Capitol. Well, the White House tours aren't open yet, so we didn't get that.
Yeah.
But we did get the tour of the Capitol. Well, being that Jason Smith in charge of the Ways and Means Committee, and we happen to kind of somewhat relate to him, we got a chance not only to go to the Capitol and get the tour, we went to the Ways and Means office, went into the back way into the floor of the House of Representatives.
Wow.
Got a lot of chance to do some other stuff that you don't do unless you know your congressman. And that's why we say, Know your congressman. They're there for you. They're serving you.
Right.
And all you got to do is contact their office. They're very cordial, and they'll help you and they'll guide you. And they have a personal representative give you the tour. You ask like 3 people will sit there and get a tour by one person.
Yeah.
If you go and get the general tour, it's just like 55 people with one person. And you're all huddled up in a little line trying to get through stuff, and you really can't see it. This way, you get to go in, go out, get on the House of Representatives floor, sit in the seat. Kind of
Stan
cool
got
stuff.
the VIP treatment.
Yeah, but these are things that people don't understand. And even with that tour, they couldn't show you everything.
Right.
And that's the incredible part about going back to D.C. It'll be there again, and you have a better chance of seeing it the next time. This time in D.C., they didn't have a Korean War memorial the last time I was there. I wasn't there. So I got a chance to see that. That was very, very interesting. And they also have Franklin Delano's memorial, and they've expanded it. So a lot of things have changed. They're actually improving the Lincoln Memorial now. They're actually going to allow you to see the basement. They're going to have a new gift shop down there. They're opening that up next year for people to see, because the basement tells a whole new story, because they had to build it on pillars to go into underneath the Potomac River. Otherwise, it's going to float away.
Wouldn't be there.
So, I mean, there's a lot of neat things that if you have the opportunity to go to D.C., you're not going to see everything. You can't.
Right. Not in a week.
We saw Arlington. We saw the statue of the Iwo Jima. We saw the changing of the guard at Arlington. And that, if you do that and just take the tour and stuff, it's going to take you 3 hours. You take the tour, you get to walk around Arlington, which is pretty impressive. And then you watch the changing of the guard. We got to be there about 15 minutes early, and then you're going to stay about 10 minutes, and you're going to video the whole thing. It's not it's not like they just come up and hand the gun off somebody else and they take over.
It's a ceremony.
It is a procession, and it's pretty cool to see. And they do it every hour on the hour. I can't imagine doing that every hour on the hour.
The dedication.
So these are the kind of things. And I'm not going to say that's where the tour is going to go. But when you get a taste of this and you can't go see something, you want to go back.
Right.
And hopefully that's what stirs the interest of these students who win that D.C. tournament, or the D.C. trip. We're going to call it a contest, but you know what? I've been to our capital in Jeff City, and I've been around Jeff City before, and I've been to a number of conferences there, and I've been to a number of awards presentations there, and you can't even scrape the surface of what you can do. In Jeff City.
Yeah.
I've been to the mansion of the governor. I've been to the state capitol. When you get a chance to see these things, take the opportunity.
Right. And we stress to these students, too, this is their junior year. If they're not already being asked, what are you going to do after you graduate? That'll hit them hard next year. Both these trips, they're really fun, free summer trips. They are. But next year, as incoming seniors, these are things that they can put on those applications and their resumes. We tell them if they're going to college, if they're going directly in the workforce, if they want to apply for any type of scholarship, to be able to list honors and awards, it helps your application, your resume stand out. And so we tell these kids, don't forget about it next year as a senior. Make sure you're putting that down. And I mean, you got to brag on yourself a little bit. And to have won one of these 3 spots and represented your state either at DC or Jeff City, that's a big accomplishment.
It is.
And so they get to use that next year, and hopefully that'll kind of help them as they're competing for things like scholarships or jobs.
One of the things that I've noticed, and this isn't to say anything bad about the schools or anything, is sometimes the kids go do things that they may not really want to go do. They're part of FFA, or they're part of National Honor Society or whatever. Like go ring the bell, Salvation Army. You put that on your resume.
Right.
That you volunteered to work with the Salvation Army. There's what they call bells. And those little bells, when they look at resumes, ring loudly.
Yeah.
Volunteerism is a huge Liberty Bell.
It is. Yeah.
And if you go and do that, and this is volunteering for this contest, you're not required to do it.
Nope.
It's totally up to you. But if you do volunteer to do it and would win, be one of the top 3, again, let's ring that bell a little bit. Then if you get a chance to do something else in town, help out with people. Salvation Army is one of them, but there's other ways of helping out people in town and many different organizations. You write that on your resume. Don't just take it that I have to go do it as part of my National Honor Society requirement.
Right.
You do it because you're going to learn something, and that's why they ask you to do community service as part of those. You will learn something. We have all kinds of great different organizations here. We got that construction trades program, which is amazing. Grant you, that's not a volunteer program, but when you see what these kids can do when they get a chance to really start to show their stuff,
Gotcha.
you know, that's what I'm saying. You get involved in these organizations, and the next thing you know, maybe you really like what you're doing, and that might lead you, not guaranteeing it, but it might lead you into a career decision.
It could.
That's why people like Jason Smith won this tour. He got up there. He really liked politics. And so, guess what? He became first off a state rep, and then became the whip in the state. Then he goes and runs when Joanne Emerson resigned. He got that position, and then he's been there ever since. But once you get a little taste of it, you might like what you see. Jason got a taste of it through this youth tour, and he's been there in D.C. ever since, almost 10 years in the state. But since then, he's been your representative for the 8th District.
It's just a great launching point. And we tell the kids too, connections. They're going to make a lot of connections, especially with social media today. They can stay in touch with people that they meet so much easier than they could decades ago. And so we hear all the time, students will come back, we'll run into them at different events, and they'll tell us, hey, I ended up rooming in college with somebody that I met on youth tour, or maybe they met somebody on youth tour and that gave them a connection for a job somewhere because their parents were, I mean, it is so much more than just a free summer trip. And I think when they initially win it, they're like, oh, I won.
Right.
I won this cool trip, and they're excited, but they come back and they're like, I had no idea what I won. And how could you?
No.
Until you go. So we encourage the kids to talk to past winners, the seniors that went, able to talk to them and ask questions that they might have.
Right. And one of the things, though, too, if you are going to participate in the contest, do know when Intercounty is going to go, that this is going to be a trip to D.C. And if you can't go during the time that they're going to go, please let them know. That doesn't mean you can't go on the Jeff City tour. But don't win that D.C. tour and then back out at the last minute.
Right.
That's just a killer. That's just a wasted seat.
Well, we had a student just 2 years ago, in fact. She made top 3, but her family already had a cruise planned for a family vacation that summer, and it fell during the week of the DC trip. So when she showed up to judging, when she went into her interview, she started with, I just want to let you know, my family has a vacation plan the week of the DC trip. I'm not able to commit to those dates, but I'd still like to interview for Jeff City. And I don't know what her score would have, what was her score?
Right.
Would she have won the DC trip? Would she have earned one of the Jeff City trips anyway? It doesn't matter, but she
was forthcoming.
She was, yep. She already knew, hey, this ain't going to work, but I can still do the other.
So please, if that would be the case, if you are participating and you are selected, please let them know that.
Yes.
It's not fair that you would win a trip to D.C. and knowing you can't go, and then everybody's packing up on a bus and there's an empty seat. Oh, well, I couldn't make it because I already had previous commitments. Well, if you had previous commitments, don't do that. Let somebody else go.
Right. That's absolutely
Don't be selfish a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Well, if I can't go, nobody goes.
Yeah.
We've all heard that before, haven't we?
And you can't later say, I can't go, let the second place person go, because stuff starts getting filled out so quickly. And you were talking about, you just went, you have to, we have to buy airline tickets ahead of time in your name. They're trying to get a White House tour scheduled. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that has to happen, and names turned in, and
And background checks.
background checks. I mean,
Security checks.
there's a lot of work, and we got to get the names turned in right away for it. And if the whole group gets turned in and they get to go, and then, you have somebody added later and they don't get to, then that doesn't work.
We're all going to go to White House, by the way. You go sit over there in the White House Museum or
Yeah.
gift shop.
Yep.
And
So
we'll come back and get you later. And that's not fair.
no, it's not. And that day of judging, once we know who's going on which trip, stuff starts falling into place. Names and birth dates get filled in for airline tickets and the list for the White House tour and all the other things. So you can't just a couple weeks before be like, hey, can Jane
Joe
here?
Schmo take
Yeah,
my place?
can they take my place? We can't make it work like that.
All right, very good. So I'm not sure exactly what the turn-in date is at Salem High School or Raymondville or any of the other schools out there, Rolla, St. James. They all are participating.
They are.
And the neat thing about Intercounty, many of the co-ops only take a total of 3 out of all the schools in their district. That is not the case with Intercounty. Each school gets 3.
Right. Yes. And we're very fortunate to have a board that has said, no, we're going to invest in the youth. We want them to experience this selfishly. And we tell the kids, we hope you learn something on the trip. We hope you learn a little bit about history. We hope you learn a little bit about government.
Not learn.
Come back with hopefully a renewed sense of patriotism. I mean, we do want them to have fun on the trip. And I think that's evident when you look at the schedule and the things that they get to do and the places that we go. But we do want them to learn.
Sure.
But our board has said, no, we're going to invest in kids at each of these schools. And every other co-op in the state, theirs all gets put in one pool. They don't do this competition at a high school level or at each individual high school. They all get juniors from every school. So we'd have the Rolla and St. James kids competing against Salem, Licking, Houston, Mountain Grove, Summersville, Plato, all of those high schools. You may not have anyone from your high school represented.
Right.
And they're certainly not sending 9 to DC and up to 18 to Jeff City. They've got 1 to 4, 1 to 5 probably going to DC, and a similar amount going to Jeff City.
Yeah.
So
Very fortunate.
we are.
Very
we are.
fortunate. Anyway, get those massive essays of 250 to 500 words submitted to the proper person, either counselor or your English teacher, whoever they have just
Yep.
set
And-
up at the school.
Yep. And here in Salem, it's the counseling office. And if they're out of school today,
Which they are.
What a good day. I'm just saying.
Yeah, what
You
are gonna
could
do?
write the essay.
I know. The snow is so deep out there.
Well, but see, they can write it inside.
Oh, well, I know that. But you can write about snow and how you wanted it to always be a snowman, a living snowman.
Or a weather
Right.
Weather
A
forecaster.
weather forecaster. Or go out and start looking at the roads and become a MoDOT road representative.
or a school
Or
administrator.
a school administrator, so you can call school off.
There's lots of options, lots
There
of
you
things
go.
that you could write about.
Anyway.
But today
so-
would be a good day. If you're a Salem student and you're a junior, take advantage of your day off today and get the essay wrote and turn it in this week. You'll have it in before the deadline, and who knows, you could make top 3 and end up winning a trip because you took half an hour on a snow day.
Snowy day, yeah.
Wrote an
Yeah,
essay.
After you get up late.
Yeah, they're going to be well rested,
Right, there you go.
so their minds will be
Sharp.
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 Oh yeah,
You know, very good. We're trying.
I know.
We're trying. Anyway, well, we do hope the submissions are many to the Salem High School. Or St. James, if you're listening in from that area, or Rolla, or Licking, or Raymondville, or whatever you might be in the inter-county district, because there are a number of co-ops in the state. We're talking about Intercounty Electric here, and
Right.
we do, again, thank them for this. This is an incredible opportunity. I wish it would have been around when I was in school. No such thing. And this is just, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, gang.
It is.
It really is. So
Yep.
don't let it go passing you by. One of the other things, and I know we really harp on the youth essay contest, and we do spend quite a bit of time on it, but it's well worth the
It
time that
is.
we spend.
Yes.
But also, you know, we had some weather, good and bad, here this winter. I couldn't give you your good weather today. I'm
I
sorry.
know.
I tried. You know, we could have gone on Valentine's Day. It been 50 degrees.
Well,
You know,
we take
could
what
have.
we can get.
But we could have. Anyway, but yes, we take what we can get. But one of the things that Intercounty does do is they do have text and email alerts.
We do.
And that's one of the things that if you are unsure about different things with your electric and you like to be kept up to date, it's a great way to do that, isn't it?
It is. And we're starting to utilize those more, and we're seeing more of our members sign up for those. Initially, what we saw members signing up for were notifications that their bill was ready.
Right.
And so whether you get a paper bill or an email bill, you can get a text notification that says, hey, your bill's ready.
Right.
And so then you know
It's available online, or it's ready to be paid.
You can look it up on Smart Hub. A lot of people are turning on their alerts for missed payments. That way, if they forget for some reason, or maybe the payment, if they've mailed it, maybe it hasn't got to us yet, instead of being surprised, they can get that text alert that they've missed their payment date, or they can turn it on if they get a disconnect notice. Instead of waiting for that in the mail, they can get a text or an email alert. People are preferring those digital means, the text and email alerts, as opposed to letters, waiting for mail to actually.
Well, especially a disconnect notice. By the time you get it, you may already know you're disconnected.
Right, right. So they've been turning those alerts on. Something that when I said we're working on using these more for outages, we're getting things lined up so that if there's a power outage and it affects your location, we'll be able to send you a text that says, hey, we're aware of an outage at
In your
such
area.
and such location. And we'll link that up to the service address that they have on file with us for that location. Just to know, that way if you're not at home, or we've got people that have summer homes or hunting cabins or whatever it might be, it kind of just helps them be informed.
Right. Know that if they have a refrigerator or something there and it's middle of summer and the electric is out for quite some time, well, first off, don't go touch anything. But you have about 2.5, 3 days to get there before you need somebody to go and empty that refrigerator out.
Right.
Make sure, or empty it out, take it with you, and put it
Yeah.
somewhere else. It's a great thing to have. But it also, if you're not sure if somebody has called it in, let's just say you're sleeping and you wake up and the electric's out, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if it, I wonder if anybody's ever called us in. Well, if you got the email or text alert, then like Heather said, in your area, they'll have already texted you saying, yes, we are aware of an outage in
At
that
your
service
location.
area. Yeah.
Yep. Because the text would only go to people who we know are affected. So it wouldn't even be like a blanket
Right.
in your area, but maybe it's you, maybe it's not. If we know your location is affected, you would get a text, which is going to be,
That's
it'll
a
be
great
nice.
thing to have.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are questioning that. And,
Yeah.
and in past, in all honesty, I know I've been at the end of the line for Intercounty where the radio station tower is. They were the last on the line there.
yeah.
And if something happened before that, well, we're off. But so the people down the line,
Yeah.
as they have to work their way back, and it might be the transformer at my location.
Right. Yeah. And that's,
and sometimes they have to work their way to it to find it.
yeah. Yeah. The end of the line.
Yeah, it's not a good thing. End of the line for a number of different things. I think the cable company ended there. Everything has ended there. So it's
You're just out there.
kind of felt like you're at the edge of destiny. If we're gonna grow our
Yeah.
county and grow the city, I don't know how you're gonna do it. There's nothing out there. But anyway. But it is a great service. If you'd like to sign up, how can people do that, Heather?
So you need to have a Smart Hub account, and you can either.
Which is another good reason to have Smart
It's
Hub.
another. It is. Smart Hub is free to sign up for. The easiest way, if you have a smartphone, you can download the app so you have it on your phone, but you don't have to download the app. If you have
No.
a desktop computer, laptop, something, you can just log in through our website up at the top right-hand corner of our website.
IECA.coop.
That's right.
Oh.
That's right. So if you go to our website and you look up there in that top right corner, there's an account access tool. You can get signed up and then log in that way.
There you go.
If you want the app on your phone, you'll just search for Smart Hub all one word. And you'll be prompted to enter Intercounty as your provider because
There's a smart hub up in New Hampshire.
yes, there are multiple co-ops that use this platform. So part of signing up, there's going to be a drop down and you can pick your provider. So make sure that you pick Intercounty Electric.
Yeah. Smart Hub in New Hampshire won't do you much good.
It won't do you any good. But once you get signed up for Smart Hub, then you can go in and you've got several tools. And hopefully if you have Smart Hub, you've played around in there. But there's a place where you can click more and there's options on there to manage your notifications. And then you'll go in and you can pick which notifications you want on, which you want off, if you want text or emailed or both, or if there's something you don't want notifications on, then you just leave those turned off. But the really important thing is to make sure that that contact information is correct.
Yes.
So it's not going to do you any good to sign up for alerts if you have your old phone number on file with us. So
Or an old email.
Or an old email.
Or
yeah.
you have nothing.
Right. So make sure that that phone number and that email that are listed, that those are current. And then you just go in and it's a toggle. You either turn the notification on or off for these different things and then you start getting
It's that simple.
Yep. Pretty
Give
easy.
it about a day. It takes about a day to recycle the whole system. But once it's on, it's on.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. Unless you want to change it. And if you don't want them anymore, go back, reverse what you just did,
Yep.
and you can shut them off.
Yep. Just toggle them off.
There's I can't remember how many there are in there. There's like 8 different things you can choose.
Yeah, but there's like 3 different categories,
Yeah, I can't
and
remember.
there's multiple things under
In each category,
And I
yeah.
think the billing one has the most, just because a notification when your bill's ready.
Right.
You can have a notification if your bill is past due, or if there's a disconnect notice, or there's just multiple options, and you get to pick what do you want to sign up for.
If I'm not mistaken, one has. It's been a while since I looked at it, but one had excessive use. If something was too high, if you're running more than your normal, I guess that they can figure average kilowatts per day. And if you're way over that, it can
Yeah.
trigger that too, just as a warning. So there's a lot of different things on there. Check it out for yourself,
Yep.
and you can check them all. You can get all kinds of interesting stuff from Intercounty.
Yeah.
All kinds of it.
Just know if you ever want to turn them off,
You can.
you just go in and toggle those off.
Yeah, toggle them off. Anyway, but it's a great service. We always appreciate those kind of services, and that's no charge to that. It's all free. Smart Hub doesn't cost you a dime.
It's the best price.
It's a good price.
Yeah.
It's a real good price. But then also to have that peace of mind from those notifications. Years ago you didn't know.
Yeah. Unless you called in or stopped by the office and
why
asked.
would you have a reason to call in? And if
Right.
now if your power went out, people were calling.
Yeah.
But Intercounty couldn't tell you at that time. Usually when it went out, it was all at one time, and it's like we are aware of it and we are investigating.
Yeah.
I remember the term investigating the outage. That's all you can do
Yeah.
because you really don't know where it is. Now you guys might have had a little bit better schematic about where it might be, but
Right.
the people at home did not. And again, it's just a great tool to have to make you more aware and to make you more on top of the situation for your own good. If you're expecting something to come on your computer at home, maybe you decide you don't want to do everything on your smartphone. I know I don't. I don't like anything on my phone because if people's lives are on their phone and they lose their phone, what happens? All the data, everything you have is on your phone. Somebody can easily go pick it up, and if they can figure out your password, they're going to have a heyday. But nonetheless, I like to do more of my stuff off a CPU at home. You might too, or a laptop at home. Smart Hub, it can easily be downloaded. You can do everything you can from your smartphone on your laptop or computer. And it's easy. Easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd highly look into it if you don't have it. If you do have it and you weren't aware of the notifications, emails and texts, I'd highly look into that too. Take yourself about 5 to 8 minutes today, and it can't be out and about anyway. There's no school.
Get signed up for Smart Hub.
Get signed up for Smart Hub. Sign up for your email
while
and
your
text
kids are
alerts.
writing their essays.
Absolutely. What a great scenario.
I know.
Heather, you're on top of it today.
Right?
I'm telling you what. All right. So other little things that are going to be coming up which I really don't want to talk about.
I know.
In April will be another rate increase.
It is. And I know it might seem early to start telling people about this in February, but as a co-op, anytime rates are raised, just be aware that it's not just this quick decision. Oh, let's just raise them, maybe just in case. That's not how these decisions are made. There's a lot
Just in case.
well, we've heard it, Stan. Like you're just raising them just in case you need more money. Well, no.
You already have the money.
That's not how it works.
That's why we have capital credit checks come back to us 20 years later.
Yeah.
The
So
money's already there.
there's a lot of planning, and I don't think people realize the amount of planning that goes on behind scenes when it comes to setting rates. But there's a lot of work. There's a lot of scenarios that get played out. There's a lot of number crunching when it comes to budget time. And the board of directors at the co-op, they never take that lightly when they have to raise rates. But there is an adjustment coming April 1, and we just want to be very transparent about that. We want to make sure people know they can plan for that, they can budget for that, and just be aware of what it's going to change to. So the service availability is going to go up a nickel a day. That's going to be $1.50 over the course of a month. So minimal, but at any rate, it is an increase, and we want to make sure members are aware of that. So even if you use nothing, you're going to see $1.50 a month increase.
That is not based upon usage.
That is based on that service availability, that flat rate. Now, the kilowatt hour usage is going to go up to not quite half a cent a kilowatt, but close to that. It's going from 9.33 cents to 9.79 cents. So there is a slight increase there. For our average member, you're looking at about $7 a month increase. Now, if you use less than what the average member does, that's going to affect you a little bit less than that. If you use more than what the average member uses, it's going to be a little bit more than that $7. But for our average member, after April 1st, when that rate increase goes into effect, you're looking at about $7 a month that's going to be different on your bill.
Okay, now people will say, okay, every year we get hit with a rate increase. Every year we have this stuff. Okay, well, let's go back to the, God, I hate to even talk about COVID, but anyway, but let's talk about pre-COVID. Prices did not escalate in multiple exponential figures as we have seen in the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And I know that if you get, of course, the Intercounty Magazine, Rural Missouri, it shows you a couple of things in there as to some increases in, let's just say, a truck, a service truck. You probably could have gotten a service truck in 2018 for a couple $100,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep, you're exactly right.
Right. Now it's more like 500,000.
Right.
2 years from now. You're not going to get it today. You won't find one.
Right.
So if Intercounty orders a brand new 2027 service truck, it'll probably $500,000.
Our bucket trucks have gone over the past 5 years from being around $250,000 to $500,000.
There we go.
Yep.
Now, everybody's going to say, well, we don't kind of go get a bucket truck every year.
You
or
don't.
2 or 3 or 4 or 5. All right, so let's reduce those incidentals. You still got to have transformers. You still have to have poles. You still have to have wire. You still have to have rubber gloves for the servicemen. And once those rubber gloves are used, they don't always get used again.
Right. And the cost of those have gone up astronomically.
Like about 300 to 400%.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, somebody said, well, rubber gloves, $3 or $4 in 2018. These are not those kind of rubber gloves.
No.
These are specifically made for electric linemen.
Yes.
And they're not cheap to be. In 2018, they weren't cheap. And they're sure as heck not cheap now.
There's been a lot of increases at the co-op, and I think people understand that. They have felt the increases
Sure.
on their everyday stuff. A trip to the store to pick up the necessities that you need for a week, groceries, household items, whatever it might
Eggs.
be.
Just look
Yeah,
at
oh
eggs.
gosh. They know the price of things has gone up. So it makes sense that they understand, what the co-op has to purchase has also gone up. But we've been relatively fine. We've been able to absorb a lot of that. There's been a lot of things that we're able to do now that we weren't able to do 5 years ago because of advances. We talk about some of these things like Smart Hub, and some of these tools that have kind of streamlined and they've made work more efficient. So there's some cost saving measures that have been put in place too. And we have a board that keeps a close eye on expenses. So the money's not being spent foolishly is what I want to say. That $7 a month that it's going to go up. We realize that is hard for a lot of people, especially,
right.
when they're living paycheck to paycheck or on a limited income. We don't take that lightly. And the great thing about a co-op is that we are not for profit. So we're not just bumping them up because costs have gone up and we need to make extra money too. If there's money left over at the end of the year, it gets returned back in the form of capital credits.
Right.
But that way the cash is there. It's available to keep the co-op. Keep the co-op going. There's invoices that come in throughout the month. There needs to be
Right.
cash to be able to pay those. So your co-op financially is healthy.
Yeah.
We are. We're doing fine, but the cost of everything is just going up.
It's operational costs
It
that
is.
just continue to change. And, I go back, goes back quite a few years actually, when the AMRs started coming in. And Intercounty did not raise rates during the entire installation of the AMRs. No rates were changed,
That's right.
which that was almost about $2 million investment or over, maybe even more than that. By the time it was all said and done, I know they were doing certain areas first. And
Right.
it took a long time to get the whole project completed.
Right.
But it took time, and the
It did.
AMRs were all installed, and there were no rate increases for that service. That has made it so much easier for everybody. And again, that's part of what your investment into your co-op is. They collected that money with this in mind.
Right.
They didn't ask you for rate increases, held it back, took that money from from the rainy day fund. I always like that, but that's what they hold the money for the capital credits. They reinvest that back in, and then what they don't use, you get back.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about a co-op. I mean, really, any business, you need to have planning. You need to have those strategic thoughts. Where are you going 2 years from now? Where are you going
Or
to? Where do
10.
you want to be 5 or 10 years from now? What do you need to start planning for? And before those AMR meters were installed, that planning started years before that, and the budgeting for it and the scheduling of that. So, you think of the co-op, and a lot of times you think about the linemen out working on the lines, keeping the power on.
It's what you see.
It's what you see, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of planning, a lot of planning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and there is, and there's so much technology anymore compared to years and years and years ago. Yeah, we still have power plants out there. We still have, your locations, which Intercounty has all around the different area they serve, where they store poles and they have transformers and things. That's just so it's close at hand, so they don't all have to travel back to Licking to get each transformer or pole. If they have an issue, if a pole gets hit in an accident, you won't have to wait longer than you have to get it back up.
Right.
So there's so many different things that they have. So the inventory costs, don't go down. We talked about the cost of poles. Scott, I remember in the city of Salem used to get poles for $35. Good luck finding a splitter for $35.
I was gonna say,
It's
can't
like
get a fence
$350 now for exactly the same pole. But it's also 25 years later.
Right.
And then you just have those costs that have increased. Everything has increased. But one of the things, Heather, when we talk about cost increase and a rate increase, is that you still have the power to watch your consumption.
You do.
That is within your power.
Right. And that's part of why we want to communicate this early, because we do realize that while we're sitting here and we say, expect around $7 a month, the cost of everything is going up. We just said that. So we know this $7 adds up with all those other $5, $7,
Sure.
$10. We want members to know ahead of time so that if they want somebody to come out and do an energy audit, we do those for free. We can come out to your home. We can point out some spots that maybe you could use some new weather stripping or caulking around some windows, or maybe there's an area where you need some insulation in your attic. We can help point those things out so that before the rate increase goes into effect, maybe you can have tackled some of those things and lower your consumption, which then will lessen that impact of the rate increase.
And if you're thinking, well, that's just crazy, that's not going to save me that $700 a month or $84 a year, however you want to calculate it. Well,
It can.
it can, but you're going to have to go ahead and do this on your own, or find somebody who can help do it for you. I mean, installation in attics for some people, and I know when I was younger, I'd probably do it myself. I don't feel like climbing up in my attic now and trying to walk around in there and find a weak spot in my insulation. Insulation shifts, settles, and it does have to be replenished after a while.
Right. And just sometimes having somebody come out and help you put that list together so you know what you need to tackle. You can decide in what order or when, but at least having that information, maybe we can put you in contact with some organizations that help with
Right.
weatherization. Even our Roundup program, it might be that maybe your heating and cooling system went out a couple years ago and you've been making it work on space heaters. Don't even get us started.
Cringe.
We had a lady just within this past couple of weeks. She has multiple space heaters. That's her primary heating source because her furnace is kaput. It's not working. If that's the situation you're in, we need to know so we can help try to remedy that. And maybe that's through Roundup, or maybe that's through another assistance organization, or maybe they're using the space heaters because the propane's out and we could help them get an application in
Sure.
for some heating assistance or whatever it might be. But we need to hear from you. If that's the situation you're in, let us help you. Let us get you some contacts made and get you back on a better track.
Especially if you're low income, there are a lot of programs. South Central Missouri Community Action Agency actually has an insulation and window replacement program, and it will cost you virtually nothing. They will do that. Now you've got to get out and you've got to apply.
Right.
But contact them. There's a location here in Salem on Wine Street, 1105 South Wines, but you can contact them in Winona. Or just go online at South Central Missouri Community Action Agency, and you will find the programs that are available. You also have a LIHEAP program for your
Right.
costs for your utilities. That's electric, and that is also for your gas and things of that nature. They can give you some assistance. Again, there are some income levels associated with that might dictate how much you have to contribute, but don't ignore it. It's there. It's a program that's available to you. And especially the older your house is, and we all know that newer houses are very, very expensive. Older houses, well, okay, they might be 30, 40 years old. Your insulation is probably not what it was years ago.
Right.
And they can help you with that. Your windows may be single pane windows, God forbid. But more than likely they still are. And you're going to have some weather stripping issues and things. These programs can help you with that. So it's not Intercounty's job to do that for you. But if you know that this is coming, I'd start looking right now. There is LIHEAP dollars available even as we speak. There is the improvements that can be made in the spring. They don't do it right now, obviously. It's,
Right.
with all the snow and stuff, it's surprising you even get there. But you know what I'm saying? This is an opportunity for you to do some research and try and help yourself out by doing the right thing. Things that probably should have been done maybe 5 or 8 years ago. You didn't know about it. You couldn't do it. You thought you had to pay for it. Maybe you're at an income level now that you can get some help.
Well, and that's the great thing about being a member of a co-op is that you can call and we can help you with the energy audit. We can help you with the list. We can help you make those connections with the
Exactly.
organizations that can help. So
Don't feel ashamed or embarrassed to
no,
reach
not
out.
at all.
That's why, and that's really what we're trying to say here. You can help yourself, but if you need help, ask. There's no harm in asking. Nobody's going to
Right.
crucify you for
Well,
asking for help.
And everybody, I mean, who doesn't want to save on their electric bill?
I want to save.
Right? Most people do. So if there's a
You didn't put your
program,
hand up. You must have an inside
yeah,
track.
not even close.
Not with 2 kids.
I think this month's bill was the highest we've probably ever had.
Well,
So it was cold. Kids were home for extended periods of time.
and that means in and out, in and out,
And
in and
kids
out.
had friends
Oh, they don't have friends.
over
do
for
they?
extended periods of time.
Oh my gosh.
And it's cold and the heat was on and the heat pump was not running. The backup was
No, the
running.
heat pump doesn't work at that cold a temperature.
No, it does not. So I do not have an inside track, although it would be nice.
Wouldn't
but,
it be nice?
yeah.
Well, you know where it comes from.
Yeah, I understand that it's right. And that's something I wanted to touch on today, too.
Sure.
We have had some really, really cold weather. This month's bill, if I'm sure you've already looked at it, but you've probably got some pretty high usage, most people, unless you've got propane, wood heat, something like that. Then you're going to have noticed that you burn through more wood or that you
sure.
use more propane. But a lot of times there's that sticker shock when you get your bill, especially after we had a couple of nice days
Yeah.
last week.
Right.
You just think, how in the world could I have used this much? When it's cold, and we get this question a lot, well, I don't ever use that much in the summer. And I'm talking if you have electric heat.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, say, for easy math, you keep your home at 70 degrees. If it's 100 degrees in the summer, you've got that 30-degree difference. You're trying to condition the air. When it's 0 degrees and you're trying to get it to 70, that's 70 degrees difference.
What?
Even when it's 20,
Oh my gosh.
you're looking at 50 degrees difference. There's a bigger temperature differential in the winter than there is in the summer most of the time. And that causes your units to run longer. They're working harder. And the longer they're on, the more they're using, which equivalates to a higher electric bill. So
to maintain that heat level, it takes
Yeah.
more energy to keep it there.
it does. And you're talking about insulation earlier. We all know heat rises. And so if that insulation in your attic space isn't adequate, that heat's just rising on up out and escaping through your roof. So
today, go out and look and see if there's still snow on your roof.
yeah, and
And if
there's-
there is, you're probably okay.
Yeah.
May not have everything. If you have none, you have no insulation
yeah, or not enough.
because your heat is rising right up to your ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
right into your rafters, and right up to your roof.
Yeah. So when we talk about, hey, $7 a month, will these changes actually save me $7 a month? Yeah, it absolutely can.
Well, it's going to save you more than that.
Yeah.
Because you're already paying a higher price for your electric usage now. Mm-hmm. Because
You're
you
using
don't
more.
have the insulation. You imagine if you added the insulation, you not only save the $7, but probably another 15 to 20 more off your previous bills.
Yeah, because you're keeping the heat that you can keep in the wintertime
And
is
the
heat your
cool-
system's not having to run and produce. So these little things that we talk about, weather stripping and caulking around the windows, they do all add up and make a difference on your
do.
bill.
Really do. So don't be afraid to call Intercounty. There's a phone number that you'll get really nice people on at the other end if you call them, and they're more than happy to assist you.
Absolutely. So you can always give us a call toll free. It's 866-621-3679.
It's a great number. But you can also find things out there on your Smart Hub too. Mm-hmm. So don't forget to check there. There's a lot of really good information on Smart Hub.
Yeah, and
If it's, what else you gonna do today? You're snowed in.
you're snowed in. And Smart Hub's a great tool when we talk about these most recent bills and your usage. And we have members calling in, they're concerned something's wrong with their meter. One of the best tools, I think, on Smart Hub are the graphing tools. You can overlay your last month's usage and it'll show you every day's usage. That's going to be a chart, and it's going to show you from 0 at the bottom to however highest your kilowatt hour usage was for the day. So we had some days maybe you used 150, 200 kilowatt hours. It's going to show you that each day, but then it overlays the average temperature also as a line graph over that. So you can see the correlation between those low temperatures and the high usage. And when the temperature goes up, the usage goes down. If that's the pattern you see when you look at that graph, you know that the usage was weather related.
Right.
Now, if as the temperature came up, if your usage stayed high or your usage continued to grow, maybe there's an issue.
Yep.
Maybe your well pump is running all the time. Maybe you have a water heater element that's out. We have, very rare, but occasionally we've seen where heating cooling systems have I don't know if you say gone out. They've not been working properly, and the heat and the air have been both running
on at the same time.
at the same time, and it's competing against itself, and it's just running. If that
You should hear that.
you should
the
hear
way.
that, but if you look at that chart and you can see that correlation, low temperature, high usage, and then it reverses when the temperature comes up, there's probably not anything wrong. But again, you can always call. We can take a look at it with
Sure.
you. And
Now, if you've had a lightning strike in your area, and you have some of those issues that Heather's talking about, and that lightning strike hit a tree or something very close to your electric pole, very possible that the meter has been damaged. Now, most of those are grounded, so
they're grounded, yeah.
and most of them are fairly new, so they should be able to take that. But we had that happen out at our tower. We had a lightning strike, and it messed up the meter. Now, this is 30 years ago, but definitely when you have an increase of like 600% in your bill.
Something's
and
wrong.
really, what it was is that the meter got hit and it spun the meter. Back in the old days when you had the dials, it just spun it. It hit it and it's like just, like spinning a roulette wheel. Wherever it's going to fall, it's going to fall. And then it went back to near normal. And when they took it in and investigated, they said, well, your meter's running right now just a tick actually behind. And I said, great. He said, but unfortunately it spun about 7,000 kilowatts ahead when it got hit by lightning.
Oh, wow.
I mean, so it's a possibility, but with today's AMRs, I don't know if that would still be the case.
Yeah, and
But it could reset it.
I mean, we never know with Mother Nature.
Sure.
There's a lot of things that can happen to those meters. Most of the time, stuff like that slows them down, but it is possible that it could speed it up. But the way that we're able to get the information from those meters, now we've got some reporting that tells us if anything is off. So we may catch that before you even notice it or catch it. But yeah, if you've got a bill and weather's been somewhat normal and you're using $6,000 worth of like something's probably wrong. Please give us a call.
And usually
in any
Intercounty
case.
will catch that before it goes out. That's not normal. You don't go $200, $6,000, $200.
Yeah,
That's
indication something's not right.
something's wrong
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah, but
anyway,
call
unless
us.
you had one heck of a party,
I don't even know. Like,
neighborhood party. They did everybody on me.
yeah,
Yeah. But anyway, no, that's one of the great things about Smart Hub. If you do have those spikes, you can usually go back and correlate that with holidays. You can go back and correlate that with a change in temperature. You can go back and correlate that with something that's happened. If you can't, and as Heather's mentioning, then it's time to start investigating. Is that well pump out? Is that you're never going to hear in your electric water heater if that element goes out.
No.
You'll never hear it.
Nope.
And when it goes out, it's usually pretty drastic on your electric bill
yeah.
because you got one element now trying to heat your entire water heater.
It's just
And
running.
hopefully it's the one on the bottom. But I have had the one on the bottom go out and the one on the top was trying to do it. And that thing was really cooking
Yeah.
because that's not how it's really supposed to be set up.
No.
So anyway, so be very, very cautious. about those things, but that's why you have these tools today. You can keep an eye on it yourself
That's right. Yep.
before things get really crazy. And especially if you see it just stay at one level and not move, that really is an indicator you've got some problem
Yep.
somewhere.
And it helps, we've had some families tell us they kept an eye on their Smart Hub app and their daily usage while the kids were out of school and they were at home, and they could tell, like,
Wow.
hey, somebody must have bumped the thermostat because there's been a jump in usage, and kids are home, and maybe you've got that programmed.
In and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
And not just that, but we talk a lot about programmable thermostats, and
Sure.
and a lot of people it'll have it kind of bump up the temperature a little bit in the winter in the mornings while everybody's getting ready, but then while everybody's at work and school, it
Goes back down.
It goes back down, and it's fine. Well, when you've got kids at home for 2 weeks for Christmas break and 2 weeks of snow days, they're chilly. They bump it back up, during the day, and so it's running more than usual. Plus, it's colder than usual, and I heard one mother say she threatened to get a lock box over the thermostat and make the kids wear sweatshirts instead of T-shirts. And, we joke about those things, but it all does really add up and make a difference. Yeah.
And one of the other things, Heather, we need to point out, and this is no matter if it's summer or winter. I know. So you come back from church on Sunday morning. It's 66 degrees inside. Oh my gosh, I want, should be at 70. So you kick it up to 76.
First of all, your emergency heat is definitely on if you have a heat pump.
Right. Well, but
Yeah.
even if you're just on a regular furnace.
Yeah.
All right, kicking it up to 76 is not going to heat it any faster.
No.
Okay? However, once you get past the 70, it's going to keep going up
Right.
to 76. So your furnace is going to stay on longer. It's not going to work any harder to make it any warmer in there. And usually by that time, those 4 degrees actually have gotten met. You're going to feel hot because it's been blowing hot air in your house now
Yeah.
for a good 25, 30 minutes. So you're not going to feel cool in there anymore. So don't jack your temperatures up 10 degrees thinking it's going to get warmer quicker,
Faster.
or in
Yeah.
the winter or in the summer cooler quicker. It will not.
It doesn't work that way.
The basic premise of your furnace and your air conditioner is to keep a constant temperature. And there's a fluctuation. Many of them have 1 to 2 degrees temperature fluctuations.
Right.
So that could be actually 4 degrees if it's plus or minus 2 degrees. All right. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. If it's 70, it'll be 68 or 72. Okay, that's not a big deal. All right. If it's 1 degree, it's even better. It's only 69 or 71. So there you got your 2-degree play.
Right.
Your furnace won't come on till it hits not only
Beyond
68, but actually 67.9, and it'll come back on. It's still rounding up to 68, but it's not 68 anymore. So these thermostats have gotten really smart. And that is it's a neat thing to hear, because I can hear my thermostat click, and then I hear the furnace click, tick, 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 and
And then you hear- yeah.
and if you're listening to your furnace and you're listening to your thermostat, you can hear this happen. And then it takes, obviously, if you have a furnace, electric furnace, it takes a few minutes for the coils to get warm, and your fan does not come on until the coils get warm enough to generate heat that comes through your vents.
Right.
Unlike those space heaters,
Oh, yeah.
which you ever hear of a vampire? Sucked the electric right out of your plug. I'll tell you that much. But anyway, but unfortunately, there are certain areas in certain houses that may not actually have vents to them, or enough vents to them when they build a house. A lot of times they don't consider that. Or you've added on to your house and you have still the same air conditioning and furnace you had before. Well, now it has to work harder, and it may not be able to get things quite as warm as you'd like them in certain areas of your home, because it has to work harder to get there. So A lot of different things out there, Heather, that we talk about in trying to reduce your energy costs. But please be wary. Insulation is a great thing. Yeah, it's not cheap, but it's an investment that's gonna last you 15 to 20 years
Right. You'll be more comfortable in your home
and
and you're
save
going to
all
use
that
less.
money for all that 15 to
Yeah.
20 years. So please look into it. Again, there are some programs available to help pay for that insulation if you are in the lower income brackets.
Right.
And don't just try and do it on your own. And if you are able to pay for that, it's probably not a bad idea if you haven't had any insulation done in a while to have that checked out. You know,
Yep.
most of those insulation companies will come out and do it for free. And if you don't have, as I think somebody told me, 8 inches of insulation in your attic, you're probably
Don't have enough.
short.
Yeah.
And the thing is, a lot of people get a spray in insulation, which is great,
But it settles.
but it settles over time.
Yeah.
Even your pink stuff, I'm not going to give a name, the pink stuff that you can put in between your rafters,
Right. The bats of it.
that also settles after a while, that fiberglass insulation. So, and then you'll go in there and you'll see it down virtually about a half-inch thick. It's
Yeah,
not
you can-
doing you a lot of good. And that's in your walls too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it all happens that way, gang. I'm not trying to scare anybody. And I know we had added onto our house, and I remember when that beautiful pink insulation went in the walls, and they put plastic over it to make sure it didn't fall and stuff. And then I looked at my other part of my house, and it was about a quarter-inch thick
Oh, wow.
because it was up since 1960. Well, nobody changes their insulation in
Yeah.
the sides. Who does?
Yeah.
But 45, 50 years of use,
Yeah.
and it's gone. So it's time to make some changes and get some insulation put back in there.
Good.
You can do it. You get it blown in. They can actually drill some holes and blow it into your,
Yep, they do.
walls. And so think about it. I'm not trying to sell insulation right now, but I'll tell you what,
It makes a difference.
it makes a huge difference. And,
Yeah.
and also, now right now, you can't do any caulking. It's too cold. Can't do
Right.
that. And obviously, weather stripping is a big key, and we talk about it all the time. 50 degrees or above is when you can caulk. If you know what you can do, there is some plastic or press-on weather stripping I think people use. That's not going to stick real well either at
Gotta
45
wait,
degrees.
You gotta
So-
wait for it to warm up just a
yeah,
little.
you still got to do that. So, again, read the instructions on those. Don't go out and buy a kit. They used to have, especially if you had single pane windows, those old plastic hair dryer kits that you could actually put the plastic up on the sides to stretch it out and then hit the hair dryer and warm it up, and it tightened up. And hey, they trap that air inside your window. That worked. Doesn't look real good,
But it works.
but it worked.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so you got a couple more months of. I didn't say that, Heather, but you got a couple more months of winter. I don't.
I'm
I'm sorry. I'm sorry I said it.
I'm not a fan of winter.
I know you're not a fan of winter, and I didn't mean to say it that loud. But I did.
Realistically, it's still winter.
But it is.
Yeah.
And realistically, you can have cold days in April, too. So,
Yeah.
again, with the increase coming, and we all know it's coming, yes, you're not going to probably be able to do anything before April 1st. But start planning now to get those changes made before the summer months kick
Yeah.
in. And the reason why Intercounty usually does any kind of increase on April 1st, you're trying to get between seasons, aren't you?
Right. So we would never want to put a rate increase into effect during a season where people traditionally have the highest usage. Right now, people are experiencing some of the highest bills they've had.
Yeah.
We do not want to put a rate increase into effect during that time. Spring and fall traditionally are lower usage months for the majority of members just because there's not a lot of heat or air that's being used. And so springtime has been the best time for a rate increase if we have to have one to go into effect just because it's when usage is lower. It gives people time during that season to make some changes, like
Right.
you said, if they want to. So hopefully that lessens the burden. I'm grateful that it didn't go into effect January 1.
Boy, I bet.
So, yeah, but April 1, that is coming.
All right, very good.
Let me leave some contact information
Well, wait
again.
a minute. Wait a minute.
Oh,
Wait a minute.
one more
Before
thing.
we end up, well, we want everybody out there from Inter County and all of us at KSMO to have a happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
You know,
this
don't
Friday.
forget about that loved one. You may not be able to change their electric bill, but you can. Don't forget about that special someone in your life come
Yeah.
Valentine's Day. That's Friday, guys. And I mean, we got all those people home from school right now that probably are forgetting about that because they're writing that essay.
Probably.
You know, so don't forget. And that goes for young and old. Again, it's I know it's just a day, but it is a good time to remember everybody out there. There's a reason why that other person's in your life, and don't just take them for granted. You know, someday you may not have them.
It's absolutely right.
Whether it be mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, a little happy Valentine's Day sure goes a long way.
Yep.
Anyway, that's all I want to say on that.
And
And
chocolate
I know our
never
friends
hurts.
from Inter County feel the same way. You know,
Yeah.
because it is very important. Family is very important in Inter County. So
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully you're telling the people you care about them all the time.
you do, but
But-
we don't.
Right.
You know, we get
Yeah.
busy with our lives and we just don't do it. So
Yeah.
take at least one day, Friday, and just let people know
Yeah.
how much you care about them.
Good advice.
And we care about our linemen, too. We care about all those people.
We do.
They do jobs that, gang, I'm going to tell you,
I know, me either.
in that cold weather out there and freezing rain, you couldn't pay me enough to
No.
climb that pole
Yeah.
and be up there. I'm sorry. And I truly admire those people. I know a number of linemen that worked at Inter County, a number that work for the city of Salem.
Not
Sorry.
interested.
I don't care what people say if they're overpaid. They're not overpaid. You're up there in 20-degree weather, wind blowing, freezing rain, trying to put somebody's electric back on. You charge whatever you want. Ain't gonna be me.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just not what I do. But that's what they do, and they do it well.
Yeah. And we're
They really
grateful
are.
for them and the work that they do all the time.
Okay, and again, we still have ice storms and stuff in the forecast. So please, people, be very aware of ice and what it can do. Not
Yeah.
only on the roads, but on your limbs, trees can come down. They can get uprooted after a while. And we really saw with that one ice storm where we had a lot of ice, we saw trees just topple over.
The weight of that, and especially if the ground's saturated,
Yeah.
if the ground's real wet. So,
So
it all adds up.
yeah, be cautious
In
out
weather
there.
like that.
Yeah, be cautious. Okay, contact information. If you would like some more information about those organizations, Smart Hub, other questions you might have about anything Inter
yeah.
County offers. And we didn't mention Roundup, but Roundup is today.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have questions about Roundup, if you need an application, feel free to call this number.
It's our toll-free number. It's 866-621-3679.
If you happen to be on the first billing cycle and you're getting near your payment day and you have forgotten, ooh, that does happen. And if you're on the second billing cycle, you still got time. But if you forget, Happy Valentine's Day may not be happy for you. You would definitely want to make sure you have this number where you could pay as late as $11.59 at night.
Yep. So this is our automated pay by phone line, and it is a 24/7 line. And that number is 855-940-3890.
Yeah, a little different than it used to be.
Yeah.
But anyway, now we always talk about Smart Hub a little bit, so don't forget about Smart Hub. And you can find out more about Smart Hub, more about Inter County by going to their website. And it's easy.
It is, yes. So if you go to IECA.coop, C-O-O-P, you'll find tons of information about the co-op, lots of information about the essay contest. So if you're at home today and you're going to write that and you got questions, you can hop online and look
And
at the
sign up for
information
Smart Hub
there.
if you don't.
You can sign up for Smart Hub. You can... Lots of ways to get a hold of us.
And another thing, if you haven't gotten to rural Missouri to see about some of those cost changes, that's a great article that's in the rural Missouri about
Thank
Inter
you.
County and why there is a rate adjustment being made. I highly recommend you look at that, and because I think a lot of us lose sight of that. We really don't know, well, we're getting another rate increase, blah, 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 blah. Okay, grant you. But when you look at the costs and the price increases that have occurred, and then they also give you some nice tips on how to save energy yourself. So check out Rural Missouri. That, by golly, is also on that IECA.coop website.
Is. Yeah, you can always view really quickly the most recent edition by just clicking on that. But you can always view your older
previous
editions too. Yeah. You can go in and look at the archives there and read those if you missed an article or want to revisit an article. Or a lot of times what we get is we'll get calls and people don't know they can go in and view archives. And they'll be like, several months ago, there was a restaurant featured that we'd like to go to. And so it's handy for that, to be able to go in and look at those archived articles.
There really are some incredible articles in rural Missouri, so don't pass them up. And, you know, everybody, and I know we're going to run a little bit late on time, but people often forget about small-town America. And I think one of the neat things that rural Missouri does is bring out some of those highlights of our small towns or quaint areas or hideaways that we never would have come across. And if you're on the interstate, you'll never see any of these because they're just not there.
Yeah.
It is just amazing. To me, it's like finding a needle in a haystack where I don't know if they get a report. I don't know how they get some of the articles they do or find some of the restaurants that they have or some of the unique people that they have that do some incredible things.
Talented people.
Yeah, I don't know where they find them, but it is worth your time if you have a day, like a snow day, to do nothing else. And if you're too old to write the essay contest, check out some of the old rural Missouri. And the neat thing is online, you can blow it up.
You can zoom in.
You can make it big.
That's always a good option.
Yeah, especially when you're getting older.
Zoom in on it.
It is a nice thing to have. Heather, as always, thank you for making your way over. We appreciate that. And, of course, we appreciate all our friends at Intercounty Electric. Every second Tuesday of the month, we have a representative from Intercounty. Most of the time it's Heather, but occasionally they throw us a knuckle curve and throw somebody else in here like that Tony Floyd guy. But it doesn't matter. We love everybody that comes over from Intercounty. They do a tremendous job. And, again, we really do appreciate all the great work that they have done. And we hope that if you have any questions, not only about increases, but about anything with your electric bill or even tree trimming, if you have an issue with a tree where it's coming down and maybe a limb is sitting on a line, please don't go out there and take it off.
No, just call us. Always call us.
Please don't try and be a Billy, don't be a hero.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The old song there, and he never came back either. So
just call us.
You might not come back from that line being touched on by that wet tree limb. Not a wise thing to do. Let it go. Call Intercounty, and of course they can take care of it. And again, we really thank them for all the different services that they do offer, trying to make it easier on you, and really doing a tremendous job of doing that. Come a long way in the last 40 years.
Absolutely.
Long way.
Huge strides.
Fantastic organization. We really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you much. Keep it right here, KSMO Radio. We are your hometown radio station. We have coming your way right here in your hometown radio source. Got our civic happenings coming your way and much, much more. So don't go anywhere. KSMO, Salem, Missouri.
Life just got a whole lot easier with grocery delivery from your Country Mart here in Salem. Now available through Instacart. Skip the trip and shop from the comfort of your own home. Whether it's fresh produce,